everybody, we're back. You are going to need to get some things out of your resource basket. The first thing you're going to need to get is your bag of bears, and then you're also going to need to get your plate that has the 3 little compartments in it. And we're going to get to start using this book for the very first time. Now this is actually a writing journal, but we are going to use it today to write some number sentences. And then we're also going to be using it to write other things with words, but we're going to start out by writing some number sentences. You will need a pencil too, so go get those things. You can pause this and go get those things, come back, and then we'll start learning how to decompose numbers. Well, welcome back. So far this year we've been doing a lot of putting numbers together. We call that composing, when we take 2 numbers and we put them together and say, well, how many do we have in all? What do we call that? Adding, right? Okay, so now we're going to learn something called decomposing numbers, which is the opposite. It's where we start out with a big number and we break it down into 2 parts. And if you look at your plate, you can see that it has a big space, and this is how many we start out with in all, okay? And then up here are 2 smaller compartments, and they are just parts that go together to make up this in all. So the easiest way I have figured out to teach this is to use a little story about some bears. And I thought this just fit in perfectly because we just read the story of the 3 bears, Goldilocks and the 3 bears. So what we're going to do is take all of your little bears out, and we're going to pretend like this is the movie theater. Okay, so maybe they're going to go see Trolls or Frozen 2 or something really good like that. And all 10 friends want to go to see the movie together. Okay, so let's start out, and we're going to put all 10 friends into our big section of our plate. So you go ahead. Are you getting this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right. Oh, one little bear took a tumble. All right. So we're going to start out with how many bears going into the theater? 10, right? So I'm going to write a number 10 down here. Okay. See my number 10? All right. Now, they've all got their popcorn. They've been standing out in the lobby. They got their popcorn. They got their tickets. And they all want to sit together. So, all 10 bears are going to go over to the left side of the theater so they can watch. So they go down the aisle. And they go in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Well, they're all sitting together, but they don't look very comfortable, do they? They have 10 on this side of the aisle, right? And 0 on this side. Now, do I still have 10 bears in the theater? I do. So I can say 0 plus 10 equals 10. If I take my number 10 and I decompose it into 2 parts, I can have 10 on one side and 0 on the other. Well, the movie started, and unfortunately, little Brody Bear and little Brody Bear says, oh man, I can't see very good because it hurts my neck to look up at the screen. I'm too close. I'm going to go over to the other side and go to the back so I don't have to look up. Okay, do we still have 10 bears? Did any bears leave the theater? They did not, did they? But one bear went over to this side. Now, how many bears are on this side? If Brody Bear was on this side and he went over here, we're actually taking one away from 10. So what is 10 minus 1? That'd be number 9, wouldn't it? Gotta look at it, make sure I don't make it backwards. All right, so now I have 9 bears. Let's count just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 1. I can divide my number 10 up, decompose it into the parts of 1 and 9. So let's go ahead and let's start writing these down before we forget to do that. Let's open it up here to our first page. And I'm going to turn mine back like this because it's easier to see. And right here, do you remember we started out with 10. 10 bears went into the theater. And they divided it up with 10 on one side. And 0 on the other side, right? So you can decompose 10 into the parts 10 and 0. And just now when Brody Bear went over, we still have 10, but now we have 9 on one side and 1 on the other. Now, let's see. What do you think we're going to do next? Is there another way we can decompose 10? Well, let's see. What if we say Hadley Bear says, oh, poor Brody looks so sad over there all by himself. I think I'll go over there and sit with Brody. So she gets up and she walks across the aisle and now she sits with Brody. How many bears do I have on this side? 1, 2, right? Did I have any bears go home? No, they're all still there watching the movie. So let's count and see how many bears we have left on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So now I'm going to write down, I still have 10 bears. And now I have 8 on one side. And how many did we say we had on the other side? 2. So I can decompose 10 into 8 plus 2. Now, Brody and Hadley are over there watching the movie, and poor little Miris Bear, she spills her Coke all over her seat. So she gets up and she goes over and she says, my seat's all wet. I'm just going to come over here and sit with you guys. So, did any of our bears go home? Nope. So we still have 10 bears, right? Let's write down 10. Now, we have 3 bears on one side. How many do we have on the other side? Let's count and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we can break down our 10 or decompose it into 7 plus 3. Okay, 7 plus 3. So I'm going to let you keep going on until you get all the bears switching sides. Okay, so the next one will go over. You can make up a little story for why that bear has to go over and sit on the other side. But we're going to keep going and making number sentences. And we're always going to start with a 10 because none of the bears go home. So we always start with 10. And maybe you've noticed a pattern here. Have you noticed a pattern? Take a look at that. What's happening to these numbers? These numbers are going down by 1. What's happening to these numbers? 0, 1, 2, 3. They're going up by 1, aren't they? So you can kind of keep track of what would come next, and you're going to write it over here on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do one more just so you have a good example to look at on this page. And we're going to start out, we're going to put 10 equals, and let's say Benjamin Bear decides he is a good friend with Miris, and he knows Miris is feeling bad, so he's going to go over and sit with her because they're good friends. And so now, how many bears do I have over here? I have 4. My eyes can just look at that and see very easily. And then let's see, how many bears do we have left over on this side? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can say I have 10 bears that went out to the movie together, and now we have 6 bears on one side and 4 bears on the other side. All right, so you're going to finish this page, and you want to get all your bears over to the other side of the theater. And that is how we decompose. Remember, decompose is where we take a big number apart and in as many ways as we can, okay? Send me a picture of this page right here. I don't need to see this page because we did this together, but I do need to see this page, all right? And when you're done, I have some more exciting things that we're going to do. So,